Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, Mr. Moohead, and with a little luck, we'll get through this program. It has been technologically one of the glitchiest days I have had to deal with, and I don't know what's going on, but there's definitely a ghost in the machine, and hopefully this program will make it. we'll we won't know until we get through the damn thing. Hope everybody is doing well. I know that I'm like little on the screen. I wanted to share something to begin the program. Uh, Sometimes pictures are much more effective at communicating thoughts than words, and this is what I wanted to start out the program with. It's with the news that Dylan Gabriel is going to be out there to face the Eagles, and which is great. We'll talk about him in just a minute. Yeah, Rick is already jumping on the kicker, and I already jumped on him. He's jumpy himself. I have real doubts. We've seen it so many times in Cleveland, and Cleveland is not an easy place to kick. And he wasn't even in Cleveland, and he was having some difficulties. There you have it. I was trying to express, and the words that I used were, about Shadur's performance was that he was relaxed, that he looked like he belonged. He was patient. And I think this clip that Dan Orlovsky shared on X really kind of shows it better than anything I could say verbally, because you get to see some of the intricacies and small movements that a quarterback makes in order to put himself in a really good opportunity to throw the football, and not just to throw it, but to throw it to the proper guy. All right. So I'm hoping that everyone will be able to see this. One never knows until one tries. Here we go. This is a touchdown pass, and you really get to see it from a really good angle.
Reaction, decision-making, operational space. So this is going to be Shadur's second touchdown pass. And there's so many things that you watched in college kind of transfer over to the NFL game, and you sit there and go, that looks like starting.
All right. Right off the bat, and I'm going to be running this back. There is a blitzer coming from the right side of the defensive line, a linebacker blitz. And and Orlovsky is going to explain all of this. Well, maybe I'll let him explain it because he's better at that kind of thing. And he has a telestrator, and I have hooves, for God's sakes. Here we go.
Over to the NFL game, and you sit there and go, that looks like starting quarterback quality material or play by Shadur Sanders. Number one, you're going to get pressure off the left side. Now, Shadur initially wants to throw the ball to the tight end. You can see after the motion comes, his eyes are going to peek left. He wants to throw this ball to the tight end on what is known as a little bit of a stick route. Because his eyes are looking there, he naturally sees this blitzing linebacker. And so the initial reaction by Shadur is natural. That guy pressuring, he wants to leave, okay? He wants to leave. He doesn't realize that this back is definitely coming across. There has to be.
By now, with a linebacker coming across the line of scrimmage, DTR would have turned his back or ran in an opposite direction. Note that Sanders is still looking in an area that he will end up looking off of. All right, here we go.
To be a trust that comes there, but I love the fact that he's going to leave right now. Now, I want everyone at home to understand and pay attention. See where he is when he makes his initial leave, okay? And then he's going to set in the pocket and be in perfect throwing motion. I love the fact that he resets himself. So often quarterbacks leave and they turn this into a scramble session, and it's a yard or two.
And he makes a really good point here, because you saw the blocker come up and take out the blitzer. And rather than going into a panic run mode, which DTR would have done, another backup quarterbacks might do. He found a soft place where he had blockers in front of him, where he could stay in the pocket. The next thing he does is not what you would expect from a rookie that really has very limited reps. You see the man breaking across the top of the screen. You think he's going to go right through there, and that's going to be between the drop back linebacker and the defender. But watch what he does instead.
Resets himself as a passer. When he does that, he gets this inside post, okay? When that inside post clears and that safety follows, you're going to watch Shedor's eyes go there and go, nope, the throw doesn't go there. What actually happens is that safety leaves a vacancy here, okay? That's where the ball has to go, and then ball comes out right now, and we say this oftentimes in the NFL. Down in the red zone, in the end zone, face mask or higher, belt buckle or lower to protect the throw. That's belt buckle or lower right there. Now, I told everybody, remember, I want to go back. He leaves on the hash, right? When he leaves the hash, see the space that he gets to? That's the operational space that I talk about. Perfect pocket, but he's still a passer. And then that ball comes out perfectly thrown. That's the stuff that you got. If you're Cleveland, you're sitting there going, okay, he leaves the pocket, feels the pressure, but doesn't run from the pressure, evades it, trusts the protection, and then the throw has to happen. If he does all that, sails it, but he did it in executed reaction, understanding, ball placement. It was there.
Now, I mean, that's as good a view as you're going to get. And I'm going to remove this now. The thing that's impressive is not his stats at the end of the game. It's not that, he's going to become a great starting quarterback in the NFL. We're looking at progress, and that's what the preseason is about. And the reason that I'm showing this is this, when things come as advertised, for example, if Allen, when he was in the draft with Baker Mayfield had a really good arm, but Allen had a cannon. And when you saw him throw it in the preseason, and it was like, wow, ball just explodes out of his hands. And so sometimes things come as advertised. In the case of Shedeur Sanders, a number of things have been pointed out, especially by that one member, the lead favorite person of the Cleveland Browns organization, Mary Kay Cabot, who points to other things that would make you believe that Shedeur is not capable of doing that at this point. And I'm not saying that one half of preseason football against a weak team like the Panthers is everything to get excited about. Instead, what I'm saying is Shedeur showed something that even his scouting reports, when he was in the draft before his precipitous fall, there were things being written about him that said he couldn't do stuff like this. And that is why I think this is so significant. Did I believe he could or he couldn't? I didn't know what he can do, and I still don't know exactly what he can do at the professional level. But what I can do is call bullshit when I see members of the press saying things and making these declarations that are patently false. And to be very honest with you, I don't know if you know, if you are into music and you watch Wings of Pegasus, his YouTube page, he's on a personal crusade against pitch correction being used in live concerts where people are paying big money and they're not even hearing real people singing in many instances. Well, I am picking up my promotion of Moohead Radio across the internet for a specific reason, and it's to call bullshit on what a lot of reporters are doing by pigeonholing athletes into little holes where they don't belong. So, with that said, we start with a little bit of Browns news. Really bad news in one respect. Luke Floria has been cut. And after making a really good one-handed catch, we saw what appeared to be him pulling a hamstring muscle, and he did not get back into the game. Well, he was waived with an injury designation, and head coach Kevin Stefanski referred to the injury as serious. Now, wow. That means that he didn't just pull a hammy, that he tore a hammy. Now, if Floria were to clear waivers, the Browns could place him on injured reserve. But if the injury is not season ending, they could re-sign him to the practice squad. It's too bad. Kid out of Kent State, he caught 100 passes there and trying to make a professional football team. This is a bad break. The Browns also signed 2 cornerbacks, Christian Holmes and Darius Rush. Holmes is 27. He was a 7th-round pick in 2022 by the Washington, well, what they were then, we know what they are now, football team. And he actually played in 30 career games with 2 starts with the Commanders and tallied a total of 20 tackles and 2 fumble recoveries. Rush, on the other hand, 25 years old, a 5th-round pick of the Colts in 2023. He recorded 3 tackles and 1 pass defense. These are guys, we need depth at the corners, and it's a tryout, so it's nothing really significant. But Floria, it's really a tough break for him because a local kid trying to make good. Now, I want to go to the premise of the show, which is the incredible bullshit being spewed by people and then suddenly changing their points of view because somebody in the front office of the Cleveland Browns tells them to. I have no respect for somebody who refers to themselves as a journalist, and I have absolutely no respect for somebody who is being paraded as a Hall of Fame journalist. And I decided just to go back and to see what kind of multi-personality problem Mary Kay Cabot has over the last couple of months. And I'm going 4 months ago, and it's not like I'm digging shit up, man. This is all out on the internet if you want to look at it. Here's what she said 4 months ago, quote, and this is before the draft. I still think there's a chance the Browns take Sanders over Hunter. You remember Hunter, the two-way player. Perception is it's a 2-player race at number 2. And that's what she had to say 4 months ago. So the Browns were interested and all over Shedeur Sanders, according to Mary Kay Cabot. All right. Now, if you want to go to the next thing, and this was when she was on 92.3 The Fan, and this is ridiculous. And this was April 6th. And her quote, I still think there's a chance Browns take Sanders over Hunter. Perception, it's a 2-way player race. Again, spewing out that there are only 2 players worth a damn is whether you want the amazing receiver Hunter or the amazing quarterback Shedeur Sanders. All right? And that's what she's saying back in April. All right. It just gets ridiculous. Now we go to Joseph Zucker on May 4th. He wrote an article on Bleacher Report that says Browns insider reveals why Shedeur Sanders was below Dylan Gabriel on draft board. Now, remember, this is a mere 30 days after she was spewing this other bullshit. And now she's spewing the company line. Here's what she says. Cleveland.com's Mary Kay Cabot reported the Browns were concerned with Sanders' quote, negative plays. In addition to throwing 10 interceptions as a senior, the Buffalo star was sacked 94 times in 2 years at the school. Here's what she said. He's played in multiple schemes, picked up new terminology quickly, and hit the ground running in each of his stops. He's extremely confident, has excellent leadership ability, and started an FBS record 63 games. He's also tied with Case Keenum for all-time FBS record with 155 TD passes. But she then added that Gabriel will be ahead of Sanders in the depth chart when the Browns get their offseason workouts underway. This is the one that she would have taken over Hunter in the number 2 slot and moved up to do it. To him, what in the fuck has Dylan Gabriel ever done? I hope he does well. We need a really good quarterback. But you're telling me that a guy that the entire nation said would be the number 2 quarterback pick in the NFL draft? And you're telling me that he immediately fell behind the depth chart to a midget who played out in the Northwest, who can't see over the line of scrimmage and doesn't have a fantastic arm, didn't lead anybody to a national championship, and doesn't have any big records from the school that he played at. And the next line in the article says head coach Kevin Stefanski and general manager Andrew Berry simply didn't see Sanders as a prospect who jumped off the page. What in the fuck does that mean? Athletes are not supposed to jump off the page. They're supposed to perform admirably. This bothers me tremendously because we knew going in that Kevin Stefanski wanted to run a 3 tight end situation, and for some reason he likes little tiny quarterbacks, guys who have trouble seeing over the line of scrimmage, who he can roll out and throw short passes to tight ends. That's what Baker Mayfield was. Except Baker Mayfield had a much better arm than Dylan Gabriel, let's be honest about that. According to Cabot, the Browns didn't have any qualms about Sanders following their pre-draft meetings. In fact, he liked the Browns from the jump and brought the best version of himself to the table. And what the fuck does that mean, the best version of himself? He brought himself to the table. I mean, before, I know there are a lot of people who love, yeah, I know. And I let off the show saying that this has really been a glitchy day. I have a new modem that is being shipped to me because I have what I believe is a defective modem, and I cannot do anything about this until that hardware comes in. As long as the audio is fine, then I'm fine. Sometimes the signal will pick back up, but yeah. It is a 1 out of 3 bars, and thank you for letting me know, double P. But unfortunately, I assume that's the case, and I'm doing the program because, your research stuff, damn it, and you don't need to see my face anyway. And in the beginning of the show, you got to see the video that I wanted to see regarding Shedeur. Jumping off the page. That sounds like, the Spice Girls. They couldn't dance, they couldn't sing, but they jumped off the page, didn't they? I'm so tired of things that jump off the page. Everybody wants to make, thank you, David. I look like one of those Japanese monster movies. Yeah. Hey, as long as the audio's good, you get to hear what I'm saying. And it needs to be said, for God's sakes. Yeah, jumping off the page doesn't mean anything, folks. What matters is what's on film and what you can see somebody actually doing in real time. So that's what she was saying in May. All right. So what we get is the question about why did Shedeur slide in the draft? All right. And here's what was said, and this is Walter Football. In speaking to team sources, there is a convergence of reasons why he slid. The initial part of the slide was that no team fell in love with him as a player. Now, this can't be true. This just can't be true. You got 32 football teams, and nobody fell in love with him as a player. Not as a person. They make sure that they say that, but as a player. He does not have a special skill set with an elite arm or running ability. I just saw a video that showed him perfectly sandwich a ball between people, and he had enough movement to find the open area that bought him time to throw. Not everybody is a sprinter, for God's sakes. Once there was no team willing to use a first-round pick on him to be their starter, Sanders' slide got worse because of the attention that comes with him as being the son of Deion Sanders. Now, what the fuck does that mean? Let me explain something. Bronny James has a tough situation, and he has an easy situation. He was born into a certain amount of luxury that his father was not. But trying to be a professional basketball player in the NBA when your father is the greatest guy who has ever played the game makes it really difficult. Don't try to make the Shedeur Sanders story a Bronny James story, because Bronny James didn't do anything great at USC in his freshman year. He doesn't even look like he can dominate in the lower leagues. He's never accomplished anything. I just read to you what Shedeur Sanders has accomplished. It's really an unfortunate thing when people do this type of thing. And it just makes it look like they're covering something up. So now it was like no team fell in love with him as a football player, and then he's Deion's son. Teams were wary of having to deal with his father criticizing them for not playing Shedeur. Now, for God's sakes, these people have more money that, like, they're worried about what Deion Sanders has to say. Are you kidding me? Their skin is that thin. Their balls are so small. I don't get it. There's no way you can tell me that it's like, well, he's not a starter, and now he's not even going to be in the top 4 rounds of the draft because of his father. Teams do not like distractions, headaches, or massive media attention on a backup player. Well, then what did we have in Cleveland all these fucking years? What was Johnny Manziel? Didn't stop the Browns from jumping on him, did it? Hey, DG, how you doing? My people. Good to see you in the chat, even though you can't see me, but I apologize for this. I'm doing an old school Moohead audio program because I'm just having a big problem with a modem here that I'm getting replaced in the next couple of days. I was hoping that I could get through a program, but I kind of do better. You can actually see me. Yeah, I'm getting older. There ain't no doubt about that. And it is no battle. Deion Sanders is a guy who is short a couple of toes and used to play professional football, who had bladder cancer removed from him. And if the owners can't stand up to him, I mean, God forbid if the fans really got together and crucified Jimmy Haslam for all the shit that he's done. I mean, Deion Sanders is the least of his worries. The Browns fans might one day get mad enough at Jimmy Haslam to burn down his stadium for the decisions that he's made. It is really ridiculous. Yeah. And I am kind of getting a little bit old. Yeah. I'm not vain, though, although I probably think the song is about me. So teams do not like distractions, headaches, or massive media attention. And that is why other quarterbacks, get this, like Tim Tebow or Colin Kaepernick. You got to get Colin Kaepernick in there. Now, he has something in common with Shedeur. I can't guess what it is. And Tim Tebow, he couldn't throw the ball in the proper direction. He spiked balls into the ground. And that's why Sanders fell to the 5th round. And finally, this. By the time we start moving up to May 22nd on the timeline, this was on Athlon Sports. I like to give credit where credit is due. Cleveland Browns beat writer Mary Kay Cabot recently compared rookie quarterbacks Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, describing Sanders as, quote, an old dog trying to learn new tricks. Now, do you get the feeling that she's just being a cunt? Why would you say that about a 23-year-old guy? An old dog trying to learn new tricks? And this is the same woman who literally, and I'm not going to point her out as a woman, reporter, who said a month earlier, oh yeah, he'd be my number 2 pick, and I would take him instead of Hunter if I had a chance. What happened to her in a 30-day period? Her analysis of calling him an old dog trying to learn new tricks was based on Sanders needing to adjust to NFL systems after being under offensive coordinator Pat Shurmur, the kumquat, which implies a steep learning curve. Now, the pushback. The critics argued that Cabot is showing early bias by not acknowledging Sanders' proven adaptability. Throughout his college career, he played under multiple offensive coordinators at Jackson State and Colorado, and he successfully adjusted his game each time. So there you have that. That's amazing, isn't it? Don't look at the facts. Just make something up. And bring up Pat Shurmur's name because he was a bow wow in Cleveland. I don't know. I just watched one preseason game, and he didn't look like he was having trouble executing the plays that were being called. Oh, for God's sakes. To me, it's unbelievable. So, I keep trying to understand what the reasons are for all of this. I've looked at all of his critiques pre-draft. They all say he held onto the ball too long and took too many hits in college. He has to improve his anticipation, get the ball out of his hands quicker. And he would benefit from more velocity on drive throws. We just saw him perform a drive throw. It would benefit him to be more proactive with his legs to give himself a better chance. And you know something? I think it's a big mistake. Yeah, you and me both, DG. I didn't see anything wrong. I mean, when I saw DTR's arm, that it's like, no, this isn't, if you see Case Keenum's arm, it's like, no, that's not, I didn't get the feeling that he had a cannon for an arm, Shedeur, but I didn't think that it was a wet noodle either. And as far as being more proactive with his legs, I don't want a running quarterback. That's how guys get hurt. Talk to Deshaun Watson about a guy who thinks he was a running quarterback who just basically ran himself out of the league in a couple of ways. There's nobody going to be running after him for quite a long time. And he isn't going to be able to run nearly as fast after what he's been through. So the conclusion of this article is that overall Sanders' natural and pure passing abilities are the strength of his game. He's a high floor prospect with a good ceiling to buy into. And then this, which I found very interesting from Athlon Sports. He's best suited for a quick passing offense where he can play on time and on schedule. He has the mental aptitude and accuracy to become a franchise-leading quarterback. All right, I'd say that it's early to say that. But it is interesting that if he picks up things quickly at the line of scrimmage, that the exact kind of offense that made the Browns choose Dylan Gabriel in the third round and to just take a chance on Shedeur in the fifth round, that the short passing game, it might be interesting comparing these two. And that's why I'm looking forward to the Eagles game because, I'll get right with you, David. I'm looking forward to the Eagles game because the Eagles are a much better football team than the Panthers are, and they're going to be able to put more pressure on quarterbacks. And I want to be able to see one team pressuring two of our quarterbacks and how the quarterbacks handle it differently. And that's, I'm adding David to left the stage. Hi, David. What's up?
Hello, Moo. How's it going?
It goes. And there's hammer time, too. Is my video still down?
Sound is fine. You're still you look like you were filmed with a potato.
Like I'm what?
You look like your camera's a potato because you're all blurry.
Yeah, so it's not.
Yes.
There's hammer time.
That's just the way you normally are, all blurry when you walk around.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah, I apologize for the Vaseline camera effect. I'm trying to give myself that fountain of youth look. It worked for Joan Crawford at the end of her career, kind of.
Yes. Careful with my close-up, Mr. DeMito.
And I don't know what this means. the graphics are LQ. I don't know.
Low
quality.
quality.
Oh,
Yep.
yep. And some lag. Great job. Thank you,
Late-
Spectrum.
It could be lately queer too. I'm not sure, but
It's Bigfoot footage. I almost fell out of my chair there, DG. That's thank you for the compliment.
I think if you look over his left shoulder, you can see the Loch Ness monster. It's Nessie over there.
Wait a minute.
You can also see where they faked the moon landing.
Godzilla! Oh! Okay, that's my I don't know anybody who would find Tokyo to have been at all a tourist destination in the 50s and 60s, knowing that Godzilla was somewhere and could show up at any moment and destroy the city for like the 12th time. Amazing rebuild job by the Japanese. I mean, that reptile wreaked more
When the
havoc.
city itself is only this big, it's But
Well, yeah. I mean, let's be honest. He could kick the shit out of Legos.
I don't know. I think Legos are virtually undefeated.
Yeah. So the news today is that Dylan Gabriel returns to drills, and he's going to play. He is going to play against the Eagles. However, Kenny Pickett is limited. I could have told you that before we got him. To be honest, I do have a problem with Kenny Pickett. I don't see how he even plays into. I would rather lose with one of the two rookies than to have Flacco at 40 go down, with an injury, and have Kenny Pickett as the starting quarterback. I just couldn't watch it. I got to be honest. He's just not good. And I've seen him already play a lot of football. And
I think that's exactly it, Moo, is the fact that we already have a body of work on Flacco. We have a body of work on Kenny Pickett. Flacco, we know he's going to win some games, but he's going to throw an interception at some point in time. Kenny Pickett is going to throw the interception before Flacco does. And the rookies, we don't know. So because of that, we're going to, tend to be on the side of the rookies.
Yeah. I mean, losing is losing, folks. And when you do the Deshaun Watson tango, it's gonna wipe you out and you're gonna lose. And after he didn't come through and he got injured, it was written in the stars that this would be a dry period for the Cleveland Browns. But that's no reason to give the job to somebody who has no future whatsoever. I'd rather roll the dice that one of our two young guys has some kind of a future than a guy who really has proven that he just doesn't really belong in the league very much. And that's the way I looked at it too. I don't know why they picked him up. I'm hoping that they're just looking, with all injuries happening in the NFL right now, that if somebody ends up with a quarterback injury, that they'll deal him off.
Stillwell Angel says, "You're gonna lose. You're gonna lose. You stink." Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. I needed that. Yeah. So the deal again with Dylan Gabriel is that he is the choice, allegedly, of Kevin Stefanski. This was Kevin Stefanski's idea. And he's going to get his chance to show his wares. Dylan Gabriel is short. And he has not looked good in practices. But when the lights are brightest at a game and playing against an Eagles team where the Eagles second string guys are probably better than the Panthers starters. I mean, this would be a test for both of the men to be able to see which one of them is, maybe more attuned to playing under pressure. So, and the thing is that Pickett is still not ready. Pickett was doing 7-on-7s, and Dylan was doing 11-on-11s. So I'm hoping what we see, because we're not going to see Joe Flacco. I hope we really get to see, and I don't need to see Snoop Huntley. I really don't need to see that, honestly. Although Snoop Huntley is a better third string choice conceivably. But again, the two rookies, you took two quarterbacks. You best not trade one of those two guys. If you thought they were good enough to play professional ball, then you can't give away a young guy. You can give away Pickett for nothing, for a bag of marbles. But
a case of Bud Light.
And the fact that Pickett is not playing at all because he's, got this hamstring that is not healing very quickly, and that Dylan Gabriel healed quicker, that's just part of the deal too. So I'm hoping that we get to see Dylan Gabriel back to back, in essence, with Shedeur. I'd like to see Shedeur be given the confidence to start the game, but that Dylan Gabriel will have the opportunity right afterwards to come out on the field, that we don't need to see Snoop Huntley. I really would like to see 1.5 quarters for each of the quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, and then maybe have Snoop clean up at the end of the game. No reason to, risk injury to anybody. That's what I hope for.
And I think that's the same thing there. Everybody knows what you're getting with Huntley, so you know that he's capable of moving a team. You know that he's, not a real starter, but that's what you get.
That's what he is. He's he's Jacoby Brissett. He's a guy who, he's Case Keenum. He's a guy who is a career backup who can play fairly admirably when given an opportunity, and that's all you can ask for. But I just don't see Snoop Huntley being an answer to Cleveland's woes right now. I really would much rather see the two young guys get the opportunity.
Over the weekend, one of the local Cleveland radio stations had on kind of like a national feed, and they were kind of griping about how the NFL Network broadcast was all about Shedeur, all about Shedeur, all about Shedeur. And I'm like, well, I guess I got to call in. And my comment on it was, he's the story. These are two bad teams that might not combine to win 5 games.
Yep.
And that's the only story out there. Yeah, there's other stories of this guy from, the Citadel going to make a team, or the kid from Kent State and who had a nice little game as well. But at the end of the day, the majority of those guys are going to be selling insurance in 4 weeks, or they're working at the Citgo. I mean, it's just what it is. So, so Shedeur is definitely the story. And whether Gabriel ends up being the better quarterback or not the better quarterback or whatever, Shedeur is still the story. I mean, that is right now the thing that keeps the Browns relevant, at least in the preseason, because people want to see that. Nobody wants to see Dylan Gabriel. We do.
If he does well, that'll certainly give the Browns the publicity.
Well,
Yeah, he's going to be the Viagra for all of us, but
here's my thought. If you really want to test how good a talented young quarterback is, most of them end up getting drafted by the worst teams in the league. I mean, it's just the way it works. The worse you are, the higher the pick you get, and you're going to go for quarterbacks. So they will start out their careers. Terry Bradshaw started out with the Pittsburgh Steelers team that was so horrendous, and in his first year, he won one game. All right. Now, but did he have the fortitude to press forward? Yes, he did. And that becomes the most important quality is, can a quarterback keep his cool when maybe he's starting out with a lesser team? But if that team builds, can he keep his confidence up and be able to overcome playing and being surrounded by less than great football players? One thing we can say about Baker Mayfield, he is a fighter. And Baker Mayfield resurrected his career in Tampa. And everybody knows that I don't think Baker Mayfield is a great quarterback, but he had to go through a lot of shit in Cleveland. And God only knows every quarterback who plays in Cleveland has had to go through a lot of shit. And he has taken the opportunity to really buy into new systems and to learn new systems. Baker has worked hard. He's a long ways away from the guy who was getting drunk prior to the draft. And there were character issues brought up about Baker Mayfield back when the Browns were in the draft process. So it's funny for me to be having to read stupidity like Shedeur Sanders has to answer for his father, and people out there who were praising Baker Mayfield, and Baker Mayfield was a goddamn redneck who just was getting drunk and raising hell out there. But there's more Billy Kilmer, you can look him up if you want, in Baker Mayfield. He's kind of got the fight in the dog, and he was able to get players to want to play with him. That's going to be the other interesting thing. Do the players really want to rally behind Joe Flacco? And the answer is nah, because he's not going to be around much longer. I mean, there isn't a future in him. On the other hand, I want to see how the players react to both of the rookies. I already know how the players reacted to Kenny Pickett in the two places he's played and wasn't good. You remember that Pickens, who was a little bit cuckoo, but he surely didn't like being a wide receiver for a guy who had an underpowered arm. And he didn't win, any great favors. It's funny to see Mason Rudolph as a backup right now in Pittsburgh, fighting for a backup job in preseason. That's how little they thought of Pickett, because Mason Rudolph, he's a schmuck. But the question becomes, the players want to play with these guys. And it was interesting after Shedeur had a nice game to start out the preseason, that he was talking and smiling and laughing with Njoku and even Myles Garrett. I don't know if you saw with the comment that happened.
I did.
I thought that was kind of comical that Shedeur approached Myles Garrett and said, I wouldn't mind you having a swipe at me just to see if I could get out of it. And Myles Garrett looked at him and said, young fella, I don't want to hurt you. So, but the interesting thing is, will the players take to playing with him? Because the thing about Baker Mayfield, players liked his energy, and we'll see with our guys, the two rookies, if one really leads the troops better.
I just think it was nice seeing somebody actually lead a receiver for a change. That was a nice change of pace for the Browns.
Exactly, because Chad O'Shea can't freaking lead them to a hole.
Just
the late throw has become legendary in Cleveland. And can you imagine having the patience to let an area clear out so that your secondary pattern guy cuts across the middle and you still lead him perfectly? I mean, the timing of it, the composure of it is impressive. And I want to see that. I want to see that from Dylan Gabriel, too. I want to see how these two guys compare temperamentally, how they get along with their teammates, and how they read what's going to be a greater pressure experience on the field this Saturday than what we witnessed against, the Panthers.
I do have a couple of thoughts here.
Yes.
Well, maybe more like a few. So I mentioned in the comments, I think most of the negative comments about Shedeur came from the Giants draft room. And everyone's sitting over there and gushing over Jackson Dart and Skylar Thompson for the Steelers because they had higher QBRs in the game than Shedeur did.
it's preseason. You're playing against insurance salesmen. Next.
Who is the rook who threw the pick six?
Oh, I don't know.
Is it Shough? Is that his last name?
Yeah. Tyler Shough.
Yep, he threw a pick six. So that's something you don't want to see. It was so reminiscent of Sam Darnold that you just want to go, no. But late throws are, oh, here's Tony the Calf, by golly. Hey, Tony, how you doing?
Hey, what the hell happened to whatever the VOO or whatever the fuck it is? We're back on StreamYard now again?
I'm on StreamYard, but this has nothing to do with StreamYard. What you're not seeing, it has to do with my modem. And I'm getting a new modem this week in the mail. Hopefully, it's supposed to come tomorrow. We'll see whether that comes to pass or not. But yeah, so that people understand, the reason that I was testing EV Mux was because it had the similar features, although in a different location in the screen. It was a little bit more confusing to use, but it was closer to the price that I agreed to pay with StreamYard. But StreamYard, when it was sold, they automatically re-upped me and raised my price considerably. And I thought that was not an honest thing to do. And I think that they owe the people who got the company started and invested their money in the product to at least be given some notice of an impending rate increase, not just automatically bill your fucking credit card. I was disappointed about that. Go ahead. So what else, David?
I just forgot now. I think that was about it, though.
Well,
Forgive me, I had old man lapses. Yeah, I don't even know. I have old man lapses. It happens.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Yeah, and who is Caden Davis? I think that's who 89 is.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the throw that we examined earlier in the beginning of the program was one thing, but the other one was really threaded in, and it looked like somebody was trying to fly toward it, and it just sneaked its way in. But yeah, Davis kept his eye on the ball and saw it into his hands, and that's something nice to see from young receivers who never seem to make the team in Cleveland.
I don't know who 39 was, but he was running through the holes pretty good.
It was. We didn't get much of a look at Sampson. That fella is a guy who has played a little bit in the NFL, but he was kind of starting to look like he was trying to break things outside a lot. Little Jerome Ford-esque, but DG, you're killing me. That's funny.
Fucking DG.
He's going after Talevsky.
I noticed, with the exception of that first drive, that first offside, there were many pre-snap penalties.
Yeah, the operation was way cleaner.
Yeah.
And that's something that Stefanski talked about afterwards. And a lot of it has to do with the simplicity of a system and the jargon of a system. And I just got the impression that the whole bringing in the new offensive coordinator that didn't work out, that Stefanski wasn't in on that.
No.
He didn't like the idea, and the system wasn't really being drilled into the players. The players were all going the wrong way. It really looked like a failure, and I feel badly about that. The OC got a raw deal because now this is Kevin Stefanski fighting for his professional life, and he's got to put in a system and teach it clean and not at the fucking Greenbrier and letting guys suntan themselves out on the porches of the fancy rooms. But instead, they got to have their noses in a book, and they've got to learn what they're supposed to do. This season.
This season, to me, I think is Kevin trying to win back the respect for the fan base. That's what this season is.
And the other thing, and I'll get to right after this, Tony, was in the video that we showed the beginning of the program, and you could actually see it. It was before the signal just totally dived. That there was the blitz pickup, and those are the things that are make all the difference in the world when you're dealing with rookie quarterbacks. Go ahead, Tony.
How much of this is, let's say, it's not trying to come up with some cockamamie scheme that's centered around one all-star quarterback rather than more, a bunch of guys like last year or the past couple of years since the trade, they've been trying to come up with some scheme that didn't fit around Deshaun, as to more of it's okay, now we've got more, I guess, free reign in the scheme, you know what I mean, where we can.
Well, that was the thing that I never understood. I mean, you went to the trouble of giving up your future for Deshaun Watson, and then you didn't let Deshaun Watson play in a scheme that he would flourish in. And you got the impression that why was Kevin Stefanski still the coach if he wanted to run a 1-3 offensive setting with 3 tight ends? How did anyone even imagine that would be beneficial with Deshaun Watson at the quarterback position? That whole thing.
Almost like the Deshaun thing was one of those Jimmy Haslam, like the Johnny Manziel pick, where I'm going to pick him and I'm going to get him, and I don't care what you say, you're going to make it work, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, I was going to say, people are uptight because, Graham played up in Michigan. If Graham was from Alabama, would he be a Graham cracker? I just wanted to ask the question. Don't get offended. Gosh.
If he was from Notre Dame, would he be a Golden Graham?
Very good. Very good.
And if he was religious, he'd be Billy Graham.
There you go.
Yeah. Anybody else with the last name of Graham we can think of?
Oh, God.
He was a talk show host. He could be Graham Norton.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were double teaming Graham. I mean, but he still had 6 tackles.
So with a little chocolate and a mallow, he could have been a s'more. Is that what you're saying with the double team?
That's true.
Oh, okay, Jim. Now we're jumping the shark here. But
yeah. This is Arthur Fonzarelli jumping over a shark in Los Angeles. Not a surprise.
If he was quarterback, would he be Otto? No, I'm kidding.
Oh no! He came up with another one. Yeah, but it's still number 4 on the depth chart. I don't know what's going on.
If they don't keep both rookies, they're fucking making a giant mistake.
Yeah, but they've made so many giant mistakes.
Okay.
You know what's interesting? You use that expression. Is that because of the New York Giants? Does that become a giant mistake? I mean, the decisions that the Giants have made have been giant mistakes, obviously.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah.
pun radio here. It's a pun time. Let me tell
All puns all the time. Pun radio.
you. Yeah.
Oh, geez. And here you go. Now here's a music aficionado.
UDG, my people.
Yeah. Yeah. My goodness. People riffing on a theme here. I think everybody would keep both the young quarterbacks except for Jimmy Haslam.
Yeah.
That's what I'm afraid of. You know, and before I get out of here, I just wanted to point something out. There are so many injuries already hitting the NFL. Miami Dolphins running back Alexander Madison, season-ending neck surgery. Not good. He was tackled on a 21-yard pass play Sunday against the Bears and was taken by ambulance, but they let that game continue on.
Yeah, not to mention that kid in fucking, from Detroit that was a third stringer, probably won't make the roster. Now his career's fucking shot and he's got to go do something else.
Yeah, I mean, in a blink, it can all happen in a blink.
There shouldn't be a preseason, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, it's getting to the point where working out and all doesn't prepare you for the impact of what happens here. Yeah. And there's still so many soft tissue injuries. It's crazy. People who are nursing hamstrings. The Eagles' Landon Dickerson was carted off with a leg injury. It was
with a last name like that. Is it a third leg injury? Oh, sorry.
No, don't even go with the dick jokes. He's going to get an MRI today. I haven't heard anything about the.
They said it was a meniscus tear.
So a meniscal tear. That's an interesting thing. He's a Pro Bowl guard, and was it a complete tear of the meniscus? Do we know, David?
No, it wasn't complete.
All right, so they can do a cleanup on him. If that's the case, we're looking at probably 10 weeks for that because he's a professional athlete and he'll be needing that, but it means he's going to have less cartilage.
What I heard, the injury isn't that severe that he hopes to be ready for the opener.
That's good news. And the Lions, Morris Norris, there's a name, Morris Norris. Mm-hmm. He's in the concussion protocol and doing well. And that was another one that people thought it could be a whole lot worse than that. But then again, Cedric Tillman had a concussion that lasted 14 years. So you never really know what the situation is. So let me see what else. This was the final thing that I wanted to say. ESPN put together something here that I don't know how I would describe it, except it was, what is the future of different franchises based on where they are right this moment? And the Browns were 26th. All right. But listen to the horrible reality. It says edge rusher Myles Garrett, now under a long-term contract, keeps the vibes high on defense, as does Denzel Ward, who remains one of the best young corners of the league when he's healthy. A hit on one of the two young quarterbacks drafted in April would go a long way to improve the Browns' outlook. But the reasons for concern, the acquisition of Deshaun Watson, of course, was a big swing and miss, as Jimmy Haslam said. However, I'm reading this. The focus still remains on the quarterback's room with 4 players in contention for a starting job, and the very real possibility that none of them could be the long-term answer. Not an ideal situation, but this is the worst and most
this next part's the one that gets you.
Oh my God. It says based on total snaps from last season, the Browns have the most snap share wrapped up in players who will be unrestricted free agents in 2025. You think they want to get out of Cleveland? That includes 4 of their starting offensive linemen. And we
Oof.
don't have any backups that are worth a damn. Ethan Posich and Joel Batonio. And I think Batonio may retire. Wyatt Teller and Jack Conklin.
I think I can see 3 of those guys retiring.
Yeah.
And then the others, Martin Emerson, who's gone for the season, and Greg Newsome II and tight end David Njoku. We could lose all of them.
Yeah.
The only Browns offensive starter from this list still in a starting role for the team at the start of the 2027 season could well be DeJuan Jones.
Mhm.
Otherwise, a complete turnover of the offensive line as they aged out and the team looks for a new quarterback. That is the problem.
I think they also said something about trading Jerry Jeudy out as well.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even if you hit on it,
I'm glad you brought that up because, while Shador is used to playing behind a rather porous offensive line,
Yeah.
you can't really do that in the NFL. Look at the last years of Kozar's reign, and particularly right after Cody Risen retired, and Ricky Bolden at the same time. And all of a sudden, they lost both ends of the line, and Kozar, who, as mobile as he wasn't, became even less of a available, moving target. He was standing still, and they were pretty much giving those Olay blocks as they went right by. So that is extraordinarily concerning. And I think this kind of rolls back to what you said before, Moo. They really need a hit on one of those 2 quarterbacks because they need those draft picks to replace these players.
And they got to give those young quarterbacks an opportunity and a real look-see, because you just can't afford at this point just to say, well, we have 2 picks. If one of these young quarterbacks is your quarterback of the future, you could get him some offensive help just like that in next year's draft with 2 first-round picks. So that becomes really huge.
And you're probably going to have to, with all the guys leaving, you're probably going to have to go first round offensive line twice.
And the answer to the question that was asked, anything about the Guardians?
Nope.
Yeah, there is actually. I get down on Nolan Jones so much because he just sucks donkey dick, okay? I mean, he's not a good right fielder. He doesn't have a plus arm. He's not a contact hitter. He's not a power hitter. He strikes out way too much. I don't understand why he's still on the team. I really don't. But, I've already spoken very fondly of Angel Martinez, who's gone through a little mini slump as all end of the year, as season starts moving on, 162 games becomes a long season. But when a player starts figuring a few things out, you've got CJ Kafis, who's just starting out, who's off to a good start. The pitchers don't know how to pitch him. So they're seeing him for the first time. Kyle Manzardo is the bright hope right now because he started out the season and he's been up at the big leagues all this time. And he's had to endure on and off playing status because he's only facing right-handed pitching and whatever Stephen Vogt's logic is to the way he runs the team. But one thing is absolutely true. Manzardo was lost on certain types of pitches and was trying to pull everything, trying to live up to being a power hitter that the Guardians have needed for such a long time. Recently, it's like a light has gone on. And he realizes, I can go opposite field. I don't have to pull everything. His natural power is he can hit the ball out of straight center field. I mean, dead center. He can hit it out of the park. he can go opposite field and drive in runs with men in scoring position. And then he's proving that he can select pitches, getting a better guess on what's coming at him. And he's up to 20 home runs this year and really looks like a guy who could truly help the Guardians. With that said, I buried the Guardians before the beginning of the season. It's remarkable to me that they're only half a game behind the New York Yankees for the wild card position. They're not going to catch the Tigers. They got as close as 5 games. Now they're 6 down. The Tigers have tried to do everything they could do to bring the Guardians to life, and the Guardians were winning. But the Guardians have been playing some weak teams. The Mets were in a terrible slump playing against them. The White Sox, you really hate to lose any games to the White Sox, and it's going to be hard for the Guardians. But when I see some people, I saw that Bazzano has now been brought up to AAA. I wonder what's going to happen with Brian Rocchio, because they're having him play at second base because Arias is now the shortstop. I mean, that is the way they're going. And now Rocchio has to play second base. And with Bazzano down in the minor leagues, you wonder what the future of Brian Rocchio is going to be. So all things said and done, Slade Ciccone had a bad game. He has pitched several good games. They're managing to hang in there, which has been the story of this organization for time immemorial. Low payroll, hang in there. Maybe you can get through. They're trying to do what the Tampa Bay Rays did for so many years and are still doing this year. We'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to at least seeing, although I think the wheels are going to fall off, because they need to have somebody besides Jose Ramirez to be somebody they can count on. And Carlos Santana and his leadership isn't helping. His bat is slowed down and his stats have slowed down. So they need help. We'll see if Kefas can keep up his hitting. And it was nice seeing him hit one out of the park. He's got a fast bat. He's had strikeout issues, 27% strikeout issues in the minor leagues. We'll see what happens in the big. So far, he's making contact. All right. That's what I have to say today. I've said everything that I wanted to say. And I want to thank everybody for putting up with the substandard signal on this program today. I feel badly about that, but I feel fortunate that we got through the program, for God's sakes. And now all we have to do is let me do something.
Well, uniquely, I was going to say the picture is moved up to like 1992 version right now. We're still still filming with a Sony, whatever, the one with the Discman or whatever, you put the little floppy disk.
We've graduated from the potatoes, so that's.
But what this tells me is I was trying to analyze what the problems were, because I was having problems even getting this show off the ground, and I was getting freezes in my Chrome, and it was really getting weird. And I just called Spectrum a couple of days ago, and I said, "There's something funky going on. I want a new modem," and hopefully that will solve this issue. We will.
We don't want to disappoint dozens of people. I mean, wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, hey, don't laugh. Since we've picked up more, the viewership has gone up since we've moved up with a Premium Plus package on X, and I'm starting to do some things that are a little bit smarter in the way that I'm running this. So hopefully by the time we get into the Browns regular season, some of the halftime and post-game shows, especially, and the pregame shows, will really have some fun going on. Let's hope.
Yeah.
Everybody, I gotta get out of
creating an Only Cows account. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, pole dancing, barn pole dancing. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. We will be back again, hopefully, with full video and a full signal on Friday. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.
Moo.
Moo.